It starts with a question that suddenly reverberated around the globe. What happens when a hidden network of power, wealth, and influence collides with the lives of ordinary people? That question was forced into the open when the U.S. Department of Justice released millions of internal documents tied to Jeffrey Epstein, a man whose name had long been associated with some of the darkest corners of elite society.
For decades, Epstein cultivated connections with powerful figures in politics, finance, and international society, names that spanned continents and industries. These weren't casual acquaintances. They were repeated interactions, shared flights, and meetings in spaces most of us never see. But when those files were unlocked and made public under the Epstein Files Transparency Act, something unexpected happened. The world didn't just get a glimpse of a controversial figure, it got fragments of a sprawling tapestry of relationships, including unexpected references to the world of modeling and talent agencies. And that's where the narrative shifts dramatically. For years, Epstein's ties to certain fashion industry figures were known, sometimes through social events, sometimes through financial backing. But the newly released documents didn't just capture photos and emails. They included references that put modeling agencies and scouts into the frame of official inquiries. American interrupts in this story don't come as casual rumors. They come as official investigations. Countries like Latvia and even Lithuania, nations far from the United States, have now launched real trafficking probes after seeing names of local modeling agencies and passport data in the unsealed files. American prosecutors have asked potential victims to come forward, and their president openly addressed the nation about the gravity of what these documents contain. This global ripple effect did more than turn heads. It put serious law enforcement scrutiny on parts of the modeling world that had rarely been examined so closely. And when millions of pages are released, some names show up again and again, not as accusations, but as data points in an official Justice Department release. One such repeated name in the released files is Daniel Siad, a European modeling scout identified in unsealed Department of Justice documents as a recruiter who corresponded extensively with Epstein over many years. According to those official records, Siad sent photographs and profiles of potential models to Epstein, often including details of their travels and arrangements. His name appears thousands of times across emails and communications that were made public, a massive volume that forced investigators in multiple countries to take notice. This isn't speculation. This is the narrative that emerges from documents published and verified by government authorities, meticulously compiled and indexed as part of the legal process. But even as these files shed light on these communications, authorities are careful to say one thing clearly. Being mentioned in the files is not evidence of criminal wrongdoing by itself. That's critical. Multiple countries have opened investigations based on entries and references in the documents, but legal proceedings and charges are still unfolding. In Miami, MC2 Model Management, an agency that operated internationally, has a documented history with Epstein's network going back to the early 2000s. Epstein provided a substantial line of credit to the agency, enabling it to grow in Miami and New York. These historical ties are now part of the public record, referenced in court-deposited testimony and included in the newly available files. But let's be precise. Financial backing and association are different from legal guilt. The files themselves show how Epstein's world intersected with various industries, including modeling, not necessarily that every intersection was criminal. This story pivots here, from the private life of a convicted criminal to the systemic connections that spanned businesses, continents, and categories of power. That shift is what pulled global attention and what continues to fuel investigations from Europe to the United States. As these documents continue to be released, governments have repeatedly reiterated one message: mentions of names do not equal legal liability, and each fragment must be examined in proper context. Yet, the public's fascination with this dossier is undeniable, partly because it touches on elite networks most people never see, and partly because the mysteries linger. The files have names, emails, letters, and travel records. Some show documented friendships, others show extended chats, and some entries are still completely unexplained. Even countries now launching criminal probes underscore how deep and complex this archive has become, beyond borders, beyond assumptions, and into serious international law enforcement territory. And yet, months after the files were made public, millions of pages remain under review by U.S. authorities, sparking questions about what has not yet been released and what could still change everything we think we know. So here's the lingering question that keeps people talking, commenting, and debating long after the screen fades to black. What else lies buried in those millions of documents? And who will connect the dots first?